Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and I'm joined by Chris from CoinTable, and we are going to be talking about how to value your coins. There's a lot of different advice, there's lots of price guides, there's lots of different ways that people think they're going to get the accurate value for how much their coins are worth, and we're going to be kind of evaluating some of the classic pitfalls, some of the misconceptions about where to know what they're worth. So welcome, Chris. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thank you. I'm very glad to be here. So thanks for having me.
And I guess, I mean, the big thing that we talked about in advance of the video, we've mentioned it a little bit in the past, but there's a lot of references that people use. And I mean, I think the easy way to say it is that they're just very outdated and they aren't accurate. Could you give me a little bit of color in terms of what some of these main sources that people are using? And probably we'll start with the ones that aren't good, and then maybe talk about some of the better ones going forward. But what are some of the ones that maybe they're very well known or they're classics, but they're just kind of out of favor? They're just not going to give you an updated price for what your coins are worth.
No, I get it perfectly. So first of all, Google. I've noticed a lot lately where people are like, yeah, I've got this, let's call it a Susan B. Anthony dollar, and Google told them it was worth. Google led them to a website. Usually it's Pinterest. I have no idea why, and it told them it was worth $50,000 or $10,000, and I have no idea what that's about. I wish I could speak more to that. That's the first thing is probably not going to be the best way to figure out a value on a coin is with Google. And then to jump in specifically into what you're talking about, the Red Book, number one. I love the Red Book. It's a very, in fact, when someone comes to me and they want to learn how to do coins, the first thing I have them do is read the first 30 pages or whatever that is. It's got very good numismatic information.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, it's a price guide, and by the time those numbers are published, they're outdated. So that's the problem with the Red Book. And then the next thing that comes up the most is probably NGC's price guide and then PCGS's price guide. And the two biggest problems I see with those is that number one, they are very, very manipulatable. If that's the right word. They're way manipulated, and they too are outdated also. So in other words, what I'm saying, guys, basically is, in my opinion, there is no price guide. Like, there really is no price guide.
Gotcha. I mean, I think that also kind of we can use these as tools. Like I think that they offer a lot of information. I think it's up to the individual to kind of decipher what that information means. Because if you look at a red book, there's obviously going to be some values that are worth more and less. I think that those values are generally, significantly overstated, but you can definitely tell which are the key date coins just because those are going to be worth more than the non-key date coins, just as like an outsized factor of they're both overvalued on the sheet. They still work well. With the PCGS price guide, I know that they also will show, you know, they list their price guides. If you go to CoinFacts and you're in a specific coin, they list their general price, but then underneath they also talk about auction records, and the auction records often don't really match up with the price guide. So that's where, an example of if you're not, thinking critically and looking at what the past records are, and you're just kind of looking at the easily accessible and not doing the extra thinking, I think that there can be some pitfalls there. But I think that it's more of a tool as opposed to an endpoint. I don't know what you think about that.
No, I think you're definitely right. I probably worded that wrong and was too cynical about it. They're not worthless because, even you're absolutely right. It's very valuable to be able to, let's say you're on the page in the red sheet where it shows the wheat cents, and you're able to scroll down. I remember doing it, 10 years ago or whenever it was, where I saw 1924D. Like, whoa, why would a 1924D cent be much more valuable than the years right before or the years right after? And so you're absolutely right. And that's a great point is to highlight would be that even if those numbers aren't correct, they can still be very, very insightful because you can take a quick look at the red book at the values of wheat cents, for example, and see, oh, I should look out for a 31S or a 24D or a, you get the point. So yeah, great point. And then CoinFacts. CoinFacts is probably one of the most valuable resources on the internet in terms of coins, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So yeah.
And I mean, I think as kind of a follow-up, talking about some of the other tools, I'll go kind of first in my lens, and then maybe you can talk about how you're using the different from more of a dealer's perspective. But I think that, like I mentioned before, with CoinFacts, they show auction records. So does Heritage Auctions. So do a lot of the main coin auction sites. They'll show the records of what coins have sold for, and I think you can look at the photos if you want to get a better sense of the condition. But the auction, what people paid for them, are right there. I think on a smaller scale, for a lot of the less valuable coins that aren't going to end up in auction results, you can filter in eBay in the sold listings category. And you can just, you can then filter by the price lowest to highest. Generally, that'll be like a sliding scale of what condition the coins are in. But I always think that that's kind of a real way, because it doesn't matter what a reference is listing something for. It matters what people are paying, and even then you have to discern. It's not like you just price it off of what people are paying. Maybe on a thinly traded item, something that's not selling very much, something comes up and it sells for, it really quickly sells. So then the sale price is too low. Or the converse, maybe there's only one of an item and somebody wants it really badly, they overpay for it. So I think that that's a lot of kind of how I'm using tools, how I'm valuing coins. But I think that, we talked a little bit before the video, you have some other kind of higher level perspectives, and if you also have, an idea for a correction on something that I just said, would also be interested in hearing that.
No, man, I think you hit the nail right on the head. My biggest issue with eBay right now, and it's kind of to elaborate on what you said, it's not so much on undervalued coins, it's more on overvalued coins. I want to make sure that everybody out there who watches this video, if you're using eBay completed listings as a reference, it's a great reference. It's a phenomenal tool. I love the coin business because it's such an efficient market. And so it's constantly changing and evolving, but it's efficient, meaning that generally speaking, you have an item, you can get an idea as to what people are paying for it right now, usually, unless it's super rare or something. But the one problem I have, and the one thing everybody out there needs to know, is that when I put an item for sale on eBay, okay, let's say I have a coin and I list it, like you said, anyone can list anything for as much as they want. Like if you have a $500 coin, you can put it on eBay for $5,000 as buy it now. Even though it's only a $500 coin, you can price it at whatever you want. What's important to know about eBay is that if you put something on there as a buy it now, and then you accept offers. So let's say in this example, I've got a coin worth 500. I list it for 5,000. Someone comes along, smiles and laughs. Oh, funny. They offer 500. I click accept. Well, now that's going to show up on eBay as a completed listing at $5,000. You might be able to see, if you've been paying attention, you can tell, oh, there may have been a best offer accepted, but it doesn't show you, and it no longer tells you what the best offer was. And so that's very important for everybody to know, I think.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good example. I had a very rare Soviet coin. It was a 1 kopek, just a bronze little coin, but there were hardly any of them out there. I got graded AU details. I think I bought it for like $20, and then I put it up for 800. I graded it, so maybe another $30 put in, but then somebody offered 350, and I took it, and I felt like, the person, it was the best available coin, even those details that could be purchased, but it was an example of a very rare item. Though I think it will say best offer accepted, but there's no actual details as to what that best offer was. So I think that being cognizant, I really, when I'm scrolling through, I only look at ones where it's an auction record or a best, one where there's not an offer available. And I think that that's just a good tactic for people to be aware of. I think it's interesting also because different collectibles markets, there are some that are really hot right now where, offering 50% or 60% of a rare item is really frowned upon. I don't know what you think, because you want to avoid spam offers, but I think coins, especially in the rarer types, being a little more aggressive about best offers is something that can be smart. What do you think about that?
I think you're right. I think that, that's a tough one. I think you're right, and I agree with you, but it's also such a, the coin business, there's so many different flavors, there's so many different ways, there's so many different types, coins, there's so many different methods, strategies, people, personalities. A lot of these people that are in the business, you and Seth talked about it last night, where there's just a lot of colorful people. It's not a coin dealer issue, it's a person issue. You know what I mean? If you remember him saying that. And so I'm referring to the fact that some guys, they just want to go on, they want to list their coin where it is. They're not, they aren't in, they don't want to go back and forth. You know, I know coin dealers that love the art of the sale. And so that's all the haggling back and forth. Like, they respect it. They appreciate it. It's the hustle. It's the game. And they really enjoy that. And then I know other guys, and I would probably put myself in this category, where I just want to be able to list my item, put it for sale for what I think it's worth. And when the right person comes along and agrees with me, they buy it. You know what I mean? But it is as a buyer, yeah, I think you should put in offers when you can. And I think absolutely it would be smart to start low. And, you know, there's no harm in it. Heck, there was an old saying that I used to use in real estate, where it's like, if your first offer doesn't offend them, then it was too high, you know, and you're just going to save yourself money by doing it that way. One of my really good coin dealer friends, he's like, Chris, if you think about how many coins you're buying, if all you do is say, hey, are you willing to take $5 off of it? Like, once you get to that final price, just be like, if I buy another one, will you take $5 off both of them? It adds up tremendously. So, yeah, I think that it's smart to make offers. And I think as a seller, it's smart to accept offers, because it's not always so black and white. It's never black and white, actually, in my opinion, with coins. I think that there's a ton of gray area. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you believe that it's black and white when it comes to coins and values and prices and stuff like that?
I think it also, kind of what you're saying, also depends a lot on the item. So for something where there's a lot more scarcity, I think that's where, you know, a higher price can be asked by the seller, and there can be more, you know, room to move on the part of offering. I think if it's a much more commonly accessible item, then I think that there's no reason in overpricing it from the seller's end, or you know, offering way below what people are paying. You know, if it's like the only, or if it's a top pop, I think there's a lot of reason, especially a soul top pop, or say it's like something really like fractional gold that's graded, something, you know, from California. That's where I think you should probably ask a lot, because there's not very many buyers. But, you know, if one person wants an item, they may pay up. And conversely, you know that you're listing it high, so they can offer more aggressively and take it. But I think that's kind of how I view that. I'm curious how you would price coins as a dealer. Like, are you using the eBay sold, or are you kind of pinging it around to a dealer network? Like, what's the process for that at a higher level?
So let me give you a real world example. We did the deal last year with the 1,000 sealed proof sets. You've seen a couple of my latest videos where I'm unboxing some of those Franklins that are finally coming back from the graders. And I've had several people reach out and ask for pricing on that. And so, like, on those coins, I'll go to eBay and I'll list them on eBay first of all. And I will literally just use completed listings on eBay, and I will figure out, okay, so my other dealer buddy who deals a lot in Franklin proofs, he's got them priced here. So I specifically, I'm not going to undercut him because there's no reason to do that. 1958 is one of the better dates in terms of common Franklin proofs. And so that's one factor that I've got there, as far as being aware of the market and understanding where they've got their prices at, and not going in there just like a cutthroat attitude, like, oh, I'm just going to come in below them, because that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the market, and it certainly isn't a good way to help them. And so I'm aware of that. I'm trying to do, in other words, I'm trying to do my best to actually like list it for what people are paying for it at the time. I don't want to charge more than it's worth. And I also want to give people a deal where, not a deal, I want to give them value. I want to make it so that they're not overpaying. I try to just find that middle ground. And then getting back to outside of eBay, I've had a ton of people reach out, hey, can I get some prices on those proofs, you know, the 67s and the 68s. And honestly, Christian, what I do, and I don't know very many dealers who do this, but what I've been doing is I'm like, okay, so my dealer friend, he's got active bids. These are the numbers he'll pay for those coins. Like, I could literally box them up and ship them to him. So when someone reaches out and says, hey, what would you charge for that? That's the price I give them. A lot of people probably wouldn't, a lot of coin dealers anyways, probably don't agree with doing business that way, but I've always enjoyed giving a collector, I don't know, maybe a good deal. I don't know if that's the right verbiage. I've always enjoyed giving them a coin where there's value there. You know what I mean? Where I'm not just milking them for every cent that I can get out of them. A lot of coin dealers I know do that. And I think that's the old school mentality. I think the new school mentality is understanding that these newer collectors coming up they're sharp and they're intelligent and they're a lot less likely to overpay for something because of the internet. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I think that that can go a long way. I think there's like you have to pay your bills, but there's you know the right connections and the right you know how people view you and what you've done for people can you know lose a few bucks here and there 100 times, and then the 101st relationship or whatever will make back from a monetary perspective the whole way over. Plus, you're operating from like excessive integrity the whole time, so that's smart.
That's my whole. I do my best, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I don't have anywhere to grow, or that I can't do better in areas. But I just try to operate in abundance mode. And I try to operate in abundance mode versus a scarcity mentality. I feel like a lot of these, and it's not just coin dealers. I'm seeing it a lot in cards too, where it's almost like you look at them and it's like, do you think this is the only coin out there on the market? Like, or you think that there's not 1,000 of these cards on the market right now for less? And so it's just trying to constantly be aware of where my brain is and operating out of an abundance mentality versus a scarcity mentality. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that that's kind of a good place to close. I mean, we've pretty much run the gamut in terms of the different, ways and methods that we're valuing coins. Anything else in closing that you'd recommend, or do you think that we've pretty much covered everything?
I think we covered everything from an online perspective. I think the next thing would be, or at least the one thing I would want to throw in there for people is if you've got a bunch of coins, you have no idea what they're worth. I said up front, don't Google it, but I shouldn't have said that. I should have just said, you've got to understand what Google's going to bring you. It's going to bring you both sides. You can learn a tremendous amount of knowledge from Google. So yeah, if you've got a bunch of raw coins and you have no idea what they're worth, you can do some research online, but you can also go to a local coin shop and just ask them, hey, will you take a look at my coins for me? And the real way to assess, or the one truest way to establish the value of any item, is to figure out what someone's willing to pay. And so take them to a coin dealer and find out what they're willing to pay. You don't have to feel any pressure to sell them on the spot. Maybe get two opinions, take them to two coin dealers and find out what they're willing to pay. This notion that coin dealers are always out there to try to, like, well, what if it's worth 1,000? They only want to give me 200 because they tell me it's not worth whatever. Like, most coin dealers aren't out there doing that. If they were, they wouldn't be coin dealers still, in my opinion. But get a couple of opinions, and that's the one thing I would add is to, if you really just don't know much about coins and you have some, take them to a coin dealer, see what they're willing to pay. That's how you value them.
Awesome. No, I think that's a great summary. Leveraging the local coin dealerships in person, the relationships that you have online with other even collectors, doesn't need to be a dealer, and then
Correct.
using as a tool PCGS's website, Heritage, eBay sold, and Google, but going into it knowing that you're using it as a tool and not as the end result. So thanks so much
Yeah.
for being on, and plenty more content to come.
Yep, I'm excited about it. Thank you very much for having me, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to subscribe to Treasure Town, as well as like and comment. Check out my other platforms like my website, treasuretownYT.com. Also some information if you're interested in supporting the channel. Then I also have an Instagram at TreasureTownYT, Twitter at TreasureTownYT, and Facebook Treasure Town. So maybe I'll see you on some of those other platforms, and have a great day.